My name is Scott Dunlop, and welcome to session number 8 of our PixelPoint training. I'm just going to make sure that everyone is seeing everything okay right now, and just take a look at the audience view. Okay, yeah, so hopefully, yeah, everyone should be seeing everything fine. And welcome back. Okay, so what we covered off in our last session, we went down through the employees menu. We covered off 9/10 of everything that was in there. The only thing that we did not go through was cash management. And the reason for that is because it's a fairly lengthy topic and a little deep as well, especially for the time that we had left. I am actually going to be deferring cash management to a later session. The reason being is that is basically the inventory of cash. And one thing that would be a nice precursor to that would be inventory. And guess what? I'm going to be actually passing over inventory today as well, because what I'd like to do, first of all, is get through just the basic programming of the back office and then focus on the heavier topics later on with their own separate sessions. And inventory certainly qualifies as that. Just as a little spoiler, though, inventory will probably be the first of those heavier topics that I cover when I refer back to them. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And so what we're going to do for today's session is we're going to start in on mail. Mail will not take too long. And then we're going to start into the last of the pull-down menus, which is products. And in here, with any luck, we should get through all of that within this session. If not, then pretty well most of it. And then starting in the next session, then we can start hitting on very specific topics with the heavier stuff, such as inventory, for example, and cash management. Amongst other things. So anyway, what we're going to do here is jump right in, and let's talk about mail. Now, PixelPoint has its own built-in mail system. It's kind of like it's email, but not quite. Don't confuse this with email functionality that we do have within here. The mail functionality is basically allows you as a manager to send a message to an employee or a group of employees or all employees within the POS system. And here's how it works. First of all, we select on Send Mail, and we're presented with this window right here. Now, in this window, you have three options. You can send off a mail message, which is it takes up the full screen and requires the person, upon reading whatever the mail message happens to be, they select on OK at the bottom, and then they advance on to do whatever it is they were doing before the message came up. We also have a broadcast message as well. A broadcast message is basically just a short little bulletin message that will pop up on the screen. It'll be a little yellow window, and it'll say something like "get back to work" or something like that, whatever it happens to be. But it's just a short bulletin. It'll show up on the screen. You hit OK, boom, you move on from there. And the last one is response mail. Now, this response mail looks the same as a mail message. It takes up the full screen, and on here you can put in a rather in-depth message if needed. But down at the bottom, it will require a yes or no answer. So within the response mail, basically you're sending off something where you require some form of answer from that individual or group of individuals. Now, along with this, you can actually assign a title to this given question as well, because you can have multiple mail messages or multiple questions that you may be sending out, and you need to get answers back on several different things. I'll show you how to go about doing this in just a moment. But anyway, that's what you can do with that. Coming over to the left-hand side, we have our filter selection in terms of who it's going to go to. First of all, it's set on persons. So if it's going to go to an individual person, then down below you can select on the drop-down arrow, and I can choose on who the employee is that I want to send this off to. I can also go down to job position. Selecting on the drop-down arrow again, it now presents all the different job positions that are in here. So I can send to all of my bartenders, all of my cashiers, that kind of thing. And the final one is to everyone. You select on that. There's no need to select anything beyond that. Everyone on the POS system will get this message as well. Now, having selected who it's going to go to and the type of message you want to send, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to emulate one right now. These two are pretty standard. You just send off a message and that's it. The response mail will require the next step that I'm going to be showing you anyway, so we're going to use that. In this, I will say, for example, here, I'll call it Friday night. And in this, I'm going to send off a message to everyone saying, I require 2 servers and 1 bartender to work on Friday night. And then I finish that off here. You can go down a couple of lines if you want, and I'll even put in capitals here. Can you work it? Okay, so what I put in here is basically a question that I'm going to send out to all of my staff. And so in here, I'll select on Send. Mail is sent to the destination, being multiple people, for example. And that's it. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to exit out of the back office. I'm going to go to the front end. And I'm going to see what comes up. Now, I sent this out to everyone, so even myself signing in as supervisor will get this message as well. So signing in. Now, if you are currently logged into the system, login reminder later, then this will just pop up in the middle of whatever it is you happen to be doing. Oh, okay, I've been playing around with a few things. Just ignore this. Okay, I've been playing around with, if you're in the middle of something, then this message will come up on the screen. It will not interfere with whatever it is you're doing if you're in the middle of a transaction or working with a table or anything like that. If you have not logged into the system, then it will wait until you do, like I just did here, and then it will be the first thing that is presented up on the screen. If you happen to be not even in the establishment at the time, then when you do come in to clock in, then it will present this to you. So you'll see here, it comes from the supervisor. The subject is called Friday night. There's the message that I just typed up. Down at the bottom here, we have a yes and a no. And on this, I can identify whether yes, I can work it, or no, I cannot. In this case, I'll say yes. Now, having done that, it now advances on, and I'm into my POS system, and I can continue on from there. Okay, now, what I'm going to do is show you the next drop-down selection, which is View Response Mail. Now, in selecting this, I'm now presented with this window, which offers me the ability to take a look at all of the different ones that are available, and I can see what the answers were for them. So in this case, I'll select on Open Response File. And in here, I have the one that I just created called Friday Night. If you had multiple questions, as I said, they will all show up within here. Now in this, I select on Friday night, and at this time it shows supervisor said yes, and no one else has responded anywhere else. But in here, you'll have all the yeses and nos that apply to that question. When you are finished with it and you have sufficient answers, then just select on Delete Subject, and that question will be removed. Now anyone who is not clocked into the system or signed on since I did this will not get that message. It'll just take the whole thing and pull it right out of the database altogether. And so that is the mail function within PixelPoint. All right, the next thing we have is the products pull-down menu. This is the last of the bunch. Now in here, I have a whole bunch of different selections in here. Some of these you may recognize, some of these you may not, and I'll explain how we came across them as we did. What I want to do, first of all, is rather than start at the top, I'm going to start down here at Summary Group Setup. Now the reason why it's a little further down is because Summary Group is not used all that commonly. You set it up once at the beginning of the programming of the POS, and then generally it stays that way for the whole duration. But in any case, we're going to start at the top and work our way down, and Summary Group is at the top. Now, a Summary Group is basically just a very general grouping or classification of items that you have within your system or within your menu, things such as food, bar, beverage, and so on. Let's take a look at these. There's bar, beverage, food, other. Oh, and rated as well. And you can take a look at the whole list of them using the flashlight. And if you do need to add in additional ones, by all means, you can do that as well by selecting on the plus sign down at the bottom. But these are just very general classifications for items. There are summary group reports available within the back end, and by generating a summary group report, then you will see here's what my liquor sales were, here's what my food sales were, and so on. Coming down below that, we have report type. Now, we took a look at report type that showed up in a previous thing that we took a look at with regards to, I think it was groups of some kind, member groups or something. But in any case, within here, what this allows you to do is that when you do generate that summary group report, what it will do is, based on whatever it is you tag for any of these summary groups, if you have more than one summary group that is tagged to one of these report types, then you will get a summary total of all the sales for that. So for example, I may have, for food, I may have hot food and cold food, or the fine dining food and the quick service food or something like that. And if that is the case, then you can flag all of those different summary groups under food, for example. And then when you generate the the summary group report, then not only will you get the totals for each one of those summary groups, but also an overall total for everything that is tagged to food as well. Over on the right-hand side, tip out percentage as well. When you're doing tip outs based on sales and sales within summary groups, then actually you can apply within here as well percentages to these. This is a new function that we've added in to version 11.2 actually, and so worth giving a try. Just take a look at it, and then this will be reflected within your tip out report. The next thing down is report category. Now, report category is the next level down. It's a further breakdown of the summary group. So, for example, I have food as a summary group, and that food can be broken down to things like appetizers, grill items, the children's menu, desserts, and so on. And so within here, I've got one that says appetizers. And within appetizers, it is flagged to the food summary group. So within here, you just select on that, and you choose on the desired summary group to assign it to. Also, we have revenue center as well. So if you are working with multiple revenue centers, you can define which revenue center that this particular report category applies to. Coming down below that, we have default print location. Now, one thing I should point out here, you can have multiple locations that you can set up within this so that when I order this item, it will print here and here and here if need be. You do not need to select local when you're setting these up. Local is handled by itself. It's kind of hard-coded in the system so that when you print a check, print a receipt, the item will be included on there regardless. It's not a matter of having it print to the local printer if you don't need it to otherwise. But all of this pertains to remote printing. So my appetizers will print to the kitchen, or they may print to a cold printer or a hot printer or whatever it's going to be. Depends on how you have it all set up. But that's where you can go about setting and determining where you want your items to print. Oh, I should point out this one down here, receipt audit. That is another printer channel. That's printer channel number 9, where I just set that up for printing receipts. Okay, coming down the left-hand side, default taxes for the group. All right, so within here, when I order an appetizer, what taxes do I want to apply? Now, the reason why we're doing this programming here is because basically it's saving you on redundant programming. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to program multiple items that have similar characteristics. So, for example, of my appetizers, let's say with salads. Okay, I may have a report category called salads. All of my salads will likely have the same taxes. They will likely print to the same location, and they will likely have the same modifiers as well. So if that is the case, you can set it all up within here, and then when you actually program in the individual salads, such as a house salad and a Caesar salad and a Greek salad, then all you have to do is just assign it to this report category, and it will inherit all of this programming. You can override it, and I'll show you how to do that later on. Coming over to the right-hand side, default modify screens. Now, you may recall when we were taking a look at the different characteristics of a general ordering screen, we had the product grid, the order page grid, and the modifier grid. This is the contents of the modifier grid if you are using it. And within here, you define as far as what buttons you want to have made available in each one of those positions. You're allowed up to 5 that you can fit within here. Now, that's not to say that you're limited to 5 modifiers, because frankly, you can have modifiers of modifiers of modifiers. I may choose a salad, for example, and it may ask me for a dressing, and then from there I can choose the flavor of dressing, and from there maybe do you want regular or light or something like that. So we can have multiple questions, force modifiers coming off of those as well. But within this, this is where you define as far as which particular modifiers you want to apply. And this is dynamic to the report category. So this way, I have one right now, which is appetizers, and this is a food-related item. So within here, all these are food-related modifiers. Now, if I went down to beer, for example, take a look at the modifiers down here. I now have bar modify, bar hold modifiers in here. I can even put in bar extra as well, I imagine. Bar extra, there we go. And so within here, I've got my liquor-related modifiers in here. So what will happen is that when you order an item, such as a beer, let's say I chose a Corona. So I choose on Corona. Corona belongs to the beer report category, and subsequently will then present me with the bar modifiers that will be available upon selecting that Corona, and then I can put in, give it a parasol or a lime or a straw or whatever it happens to be. And it will not be food-related ones, because that would be related to an item that belongs to a food report category. Coming over to the right-hand side, we also have schedule. Now within schedule, this is where you can go about programming in different price levels once again. Okay, so there's several different areas where you can apply price levels. This is probably the most common of the bunch, is by report category. You use this for things like happy hour, for example. To program happy hour, when you're setting up all of your pricing for your menu items, let's say all my beer, for example, then I would have the regular price under Schedule A, or price level A, and then I've got Schedule B, or price level B, which would be the discounted price. And so if happy hour is going to be, let's say, from 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock, then I can select on that particular hour and just select on B. And now what I've just done is I've just programmed in happy hour for the establishment. So what's going to happen is that everything within, well, appetizers at least, within this report category will then flip over to price level B at that particular time. And you can apply, many different ones as well. You can, whatever it is you want to apply in terms of price changes for this. Also, take note that I've also got one here not present as well. So let's say, for example, I have no appetizers present on Saturday. So I can select on that, and the appetizers will actually, all those appetizers will be stroked out. They'll have a stroke through the button description, and from there I will not be able to order that item until I finally reach Sunday. We also have printing priority as well. One of the things you can do pertaining to the printing of items is to sort your printout by report category. So this way all my appetizers are together, all of my soups are together, salads, children's menu, the grill items, the whatever, they're all grouped together. But using the printing priority, I can actually put in the order of these report categories. So I want, let's say, my appetizers to show up first, and then I want my grill items second, my children's menu third, my desserts to show up fourth, and so on like that. And the rule of thumb pertaining to printing priority, the higher the number, the higher the priority. Okay, the reason for that is that it grants you basically infinite number of levels that you can always enhance on. If we made level 1 as or priority 1 the highest priority, and then you changed your menu down the line, you would say, well, I don't have a menu 1/2, or I can't come up with a priority 1/2 that's higher than a level 1. So we kind of reverse that logic. And so the higher the number, the higher priority, and you can go as high as you need to. When you're setting up report categories, one little word of caution here. Be very careful in terms of the report categories that you choose, and be very aware of the reporting needs of the establishment. When you sit down with the owner or the manager, make sure that you go through and have them approve all of the different report categories that you have programmed into the system, because this will be the groundwork for a lot of their sales-related reports. When they want to know what's selling and what's not, then they will want to break it off by these respective categories. Sometimes you can follow as far as the layout of the menu, for example, because sometimes they kind of group their items together that way, depending on the way the menu was put together. But bear in mind as well that a year from now they may change that menu, or 2 years from now they may change that menu and come up with a whole different structure. And if that is the case, you want something that's going to be relatively adaptable to what they've got. Otherwise, you're going to have to come in and do some major reprogramming to change around to new report categories and assigning items to the proper categories as well. So just be very aware of that. Okay, so we come through summary group, which is the highest level. We've come down to report category, which is the second highest level. And the third level down is product setup. Now, within product setup, we're going to go through all of the stuff in here. I'm just going to come over to something that makes sense. All right, so within here, we have an 8-ounce Corona that we can program into the system. And what we're going to do is walk through all the different fields and tabs within this. The first one is the product setup tab. So when you're setting up a new product, you go about putting in descriptions here. I'll tell you what, rather than do this, let's just program in one from scratch. So I'm going to create a whole new one right from here. And all right, so for the first thing we're going to create is, let's say, a sandwich. We'll call it Scott's Sandwich. So I just typed it into the description field. Now what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to hit the tab key. Now upon selecting the tab key, it has now taken that same description and put it in 2 other places. Now the first field, description, this is the description that shows up on the guest check or the receipt. That being the case, it's in a smaller font and you have more field length to work with because it is in a smaller font. The next one down is printed description. Now, printed description represents what goes to the remote printer. For example, in this case, it would be like the kitchen. So it would be printing off in the kitchen, and it would show Scott's sandwich. Now, depending on the way things are within your kitchen, if your staff don't speak English, for example, then you can put it in some foreign language or some form of numeric system that they might understand better within the kitchen, for example. You can come up with a different description is what I'm saying here. So, okay, something like that. So here I have one description that's going to go reprinted out on the local printer to the customer. This is the one that's going to print in the kitchen, so my prep staff understand it, or in the bar, wherever you happen to be. The third one is the button description, and within the button description, this is what's going to show up when you actually apply this onto the product grid or within the menu on the order screen, and this is what the staff will select. Now in here, depending on the situation as well, they may have a problem trying to identify this from the others. So in this, I can at this point say, for example, S sandwich or something like this. Whatever works best with the person who's going to be reading this. That's really what I'm trying to point out here, is that you have three different descriptions that will be read by three different people. The first one will be the customer, the second will be the prep staff, the third one will be the server. And so that being the case, make sure that whatever you put in there actually works best with each one of those respective people. All right, the next thing we have is all of the stuff pertaining to the way the button is going to look on the system. Now, I have checked right here, use grid settings. By selecting on that, that means that whatever I program within the product grid within Form Designer will show up on this. So if the button is a nice purple and it looks 3D and glossy and stuff like that, that's all graphic stuff that's handled by the setup within Form Designer. If I want to override that on this given button, then I can just unselect that, and now I can program exactly what I want on this individual button. So in this case, for example, the text color, I'm going to change from white to yellow, and the background color maybe to dark green. Okay, so there's the way my button looks now. I can also actually replace that with a button image. You can go in here, load image, and if you got lots of images of different buttons you can choose from, then you can actually apply that on there as well. We also have button font. So within here, I can actually change this around to another look again. And there's the way my text will look on there, so you can change all that around. And then over on the right-hand side is where you can position the text. So in here, for example, along let's say in the center, and in the center you can do something like that, or we can say bottom and right, something along that line. And so when this print shows up on the actual front end, then the text will show up wherever you positioned it within here. All right, what I'm going to do here is just leave this as grid settings. All right, coming down below that, we have pricing. We have 10 pricing levels that you can apply to any PixelPoint system. And on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Scott's sandwich is $3. So I put in $3 right now. If I hit the tab key, it populates all of those levels with the $3. Notice that it's now moved me down to level B as well. And if I've got a happy hour for sandwiches, then I can say $2.50, for example, and so on. So this is where you can go about pricing, putting in the different prices based on whatever it happens to be. And you can change those prices based on time, such as within report category, or by group, being member group, for example. You can put in different prices for that. You can also do it by station as well. So for example, I can have different pricing for different stations, so that if I order this sandwich on station 1, I pay one price, station 2, I pay a different price. And you can finally also do it by sale type as well, where if it's dine-in, I pay one price, if it's takeout, it's another price, or room service. That's a very common example of that. Notice down here, I also have modify price as well. Now, modify price means that when I use this item as a modifier or a forced question selection, then it will actually take on a whole new price. So let's say, for example, I'm going to put this in as $1. So what that means, I can offer something like order the steak dinner and you can add Scott's sandwich for $1. because the Scott sandwich is being used as a modifier. It will be used as a forced question, which we'll cover shortly. And so that just saves redundant programming, having to program in that twice. You can just use it when it's being used as a modifier. Here's the price it can be. And it can also be $0 as well. Coming over to the right-hand side, we have report categories. So in here, I can select on this and choose which particular report category I want to apply to, and just go on down until you find the one that you want. I'll just say it's a grill item, and select on that, and there we go. If the report category you're looking for is not in there, and you thought, oh gosh, I forgot to do that, what am I going to do here? Do I have to exit out of this and save and so on like that? No, you've got this little three-dot box just to the right. You select on this. You can choose on what you want from here as well, or you can select on New Item. And if I choose on New Item, I'm now thrown into Report Category Setup, and I can create the report category on the fly. And when I'm done, then I'm brought back to this list, and you can use that new report category right from there. The same applies to anything else down the right-hand side. It will take you to that given setup screen for that given field. All right, the next one is configuration category. Now, I've intentionally passed on this because it's kind of a middle-of-the-road thing. I'm going to cover configuration category after I finish off product. All right, the next thing down is type of product. Now, a type of product is basically, this is why we call them products and not menu items, is because there's such a great versatility in terms of what you can program into the PixelPoint system. Now, the first one is ordering product. That's basically a menu item. Anything food and beverage that's on the menu that has a price, you can stick in there as an ordering product, and there you go. So 9 times out of 10, that's probably the one that you're going to want to use in there. The next one down is option. Now, an option is a modifier. Okay, so for example, things like extra mayonnaise, hold the cheese, or just add cheese, for example. Those are modifiers, and they would be programmed into the system as an option. If you do program it as an option, then basically when you order the master item, which is an ordering product, and then you assign on the option, such as, let's say, extra mustard, for example, then that option will follow its master item to wherever it's printed. So if I've got a sandwich and it prints to a sandwich printer in the kitchen, then the extra mustard will print to that. If I order a hot dog with extra mustard and I've got a hot dog printer or some other kind of printer that the hot dog would go to other than where the sandwich would go, then that mustard will follow that master item to the hot dog printer. The next one down is kitchen command. Now, kitchen command, there's several different things we can do with kitchen commands, but the most common thing is basically it's just a message that will go to the remote print. The remote print being commonly the kitchen or maybe even the bar. So things like allergy alert, for example, could be something that you would set up as a kitchen command. The allergy alert, or whatever it is you program in, will not show up on the guest check. It will just print off on the remote print and make the server or prep person aware that, that there is that condition that you wish to apply across to it. So that's what a kitchen command does. Busing command. A busing command is the set of commands that shows up on the front end on the table layout screen where we have busing commands shown up within there. You select on that. It asks you what table, and then from there you select on table, and then you're presented with a window with all the different busing commands, such as clean cutlery, clear table, that kind of thing. And so you can actually program in additional ones as well. You just have to set them up as a busing command, and then that's it. You don't have to apply them anywhere else. All busing commands will show up automatically within that busing window. The next one is seating position. Now, a seating position is a type of product that you can program in, for example, seat 1, seat 2, seat 3. Or you can just program in a generic one called seat, and then create those respective items as a seating position. And they act as tags or markers within the check, so that you know seat 1, this is a title command, being the seating position, and then from there all the items that are associated with that. Seat 2, this is the next one, and all of the items associated with that. When you're working with split checks, it will actually use those as the kind of like the anchor for all of those items that are associated with that seat. And when you move, let's say, seat 1 to another split, all of the items within that seat will move with it. When you select on create splits by seating, then it will also do that as well. It will create split checks based on the seating position command. So a lot of power to it. It's just a matter of making sure you use it in the right place. The next one is rated per hour product. Now this is a rental. PixelPoint does handle rentals. So let's say, for example, I have a bowling alley or a pool hall, and I want to allow people to rent a bowling alley or a pool table or golf clubs or whatever it happens to be. Then you program those items into the system and select on rated per hour product. Now when this item is selected and applied to the check, then its price will start out at 0, and then as time passes, it will build up its price. Now the pricing that you put within these price levels here will be on an hourly basis. So for example, if I put in $60 then as the price, then whenever you select that rental item, then at the end of an hour, you'll pay $60. Within each minute, within that, it will actually increment up by $1 each time. But this also works it down actually to specific seconds as well. So you may find at a minute and a half, you're actually being charged $1.50. So it does break it down in quite a degree of detail on that. Delay print command. Now, a delay print command will allow you to delay the sending of items to a remote printer. Let's say, for example, a kitchen. And what you can do is you can program in different menu items with delay print command, and based on another setting within the advanced tab, which I'll show you later on, then you can determine as far as the length of time for it. So for example, I want you to imagine in your head you got a check that's printing out in the kitchen. And in that check I've got a soup, a salad, and then I selected a delay print command, and in there I've set it to delay, let's say 5 minutes. Okay, I'll show you where to set it for 5 minutes. And then after that I've got burger, pizza, I've got another delay, maybe another 5 minutes, delay 5 again, and then from there cake and pie. So in here the soup and the salad will print out in the kitchen, and that is the end of that print. 5 minutes later another printout will automatically occur in the kitchen, which will contain the burger and the pizza. 5 minutes after that, another printout will occur in the kitchen automatically, which will contain the cake and the pie. So that's what you can use the print command for. Now there's a lot of variation beyond that as well, and again, when I get to the advanced tab, I'll refer back to this and give you a better idea in terms of the different variations you can do with it. Merchandise. When you're working with within an establishment, they may have a merchandise counter where they sell things like keychains and shirts and hats and whatever else. And those are items that are obviously not food and beverage items, but they're things they sell nonetheless. And these items actually may be set up with a barcode scan. So if they have a barcode on them, then what you can do, also located on the Advanced tab, is a field for putting in that barcode, and then you set the item here as merchandise item. Now what that means is that when you scan the barcode, it will automatically apply that item to the check. You do not need to create a button for it. You can create a button if you wish, but when it's set for merchandise, the first thing it's going to do is will default to looking for a barcode scan in order to select that item. Down below we have we want to finish this off first. All right, the next thing down is minimum charge. All right, within minimum charge, I set up a product. Let's say we call it 2-drink minimum. And Leslie and I go to a club, and we sit down, and the first thing they charge here is a minimum charge, a 2-drink minimum, and it may be like, let's say, $20. So she and I go in, and we sit down, being the cool people that we are, we each order a cup of coffee. Now, a cup of coffee is at $1. So with the $20 minimum charge, just for sitting down, our check is going to cost us $20. Now we each order a cup of coffee at $1 each, so that's $2 total. What will happen is that the minimum charge will automatically adjust itself to $18. So I've got 2 cups of coffee, $2, and an $18 minimum charge. From there, we decide, okay, let's have another cup of coffee. So we order 2 more coffee. That's now up to $4. Minimum charge is now reduced to $16. I'm still paying that minimum charge of $20. That's the bottom line total. And it's not until we finally start ordering alcohol and food and so on that it will start to build up. And once it passes the $20 mark in terms of items that we've ordered, then the minimum charge will then be a $0 item, and it will not show up on the guest check. And it will not be applied in terms of anything else beyond that. But if we're anywhere below $20 within our overall purchases, then this minimum charge will adjust to make sure that it comes up to that minimum of $20. Ticket number. One of the things you can do within the system as well is apply a manual ticket number or just some form of ID number that you wish to manually apply within the system. When you select on an item that's a ticket number, it will actually bring up a keypad up on the screen, and then from there you can pop in a number for it. So you may have gone to like a drive-in at some time or another, and you pull up and you say, okay, I want to order this, that, and the other thing, and they say, okay, just wait aside and we'll have it ready for you in a minute. And then they'll show it over the speaker, okay, we got order number 123 is ready. And so you look on your ticket, and if they put in a 123 on yours, then that's the one you go with. So on here, you can put in a manual entry number for this. This is commonly used in situations where you have a cafeteria that may offer, or a cafeteria style or a quick service style that offers hot meals that are prepared after you order. In which case then they offer table tents. Okay, a table tent is basically like a numeric sign that you put on it. So if they come up to you with their tray and they've got their drink and their salad on there, and they've ordered a hot meal, then what you do is you can select on ticket number and you can put in 14 and give them the table tent number 14. They'll take it back to their table wherever they're sitting, and they'll just set the table tent on there so that when the meal is ready, then the server will grab this, they'll go out onto the floor, they'll look for table tent number 14, there it is, then they'll take the tent, present the meal, and you can use table tent 14 again. Cover charge. PixelPoint will work in establishments such as movie theaters, for example, or any kind of theater for that matter, where you can apply a cover charge. It can also work in clubs, nightclubs, for example, where there may be a cover charge. So if you do have a station, maybe up near the door, for example, then I can apply an entry fee for this, and it can be things like adults, seniors, students, or it can be guys and girls, depending on the nature of it, or whatever it happens to be. But a cover charge is basically an admission fee into the establishment. Recipe item. One of the things you can create within the system is recipe items, which are applied obviously to recipes. So for example, I've got Scott's sandwich, and later on down the line I'm going to be showing you here the recipe tab as well. And in that recipe I may have items such as peanut butter, jelly, and a banana, or something like that. And so what you can do is you can create the recipe for Scott's sandwich, and each one of those recipe items can be applied to that recipe. And there's all kinds of benefits you can do with regards to inventory for that in terms of food costing, inventory depletion, and so on. I'll tell you more about that later on. The last one is manual keyboard. Manual keyboard, basically by selecting on this, it will present a keyboard up on the screen allowing you to type in a message. So coming back to allergy alert, if you wanted to have one that's just like that but maybe elaborates a little bit, allergic to what, then you can actually set it up as a manual keyboard. And so the base item itself, the description will say allergy alert, but the type of product rather than a kitchen command could be manual keyboard, in which case then it will present a description for you to type in, and you put in onions or mushrooms or whatever, and that will be included within that description as well when it's printed across. All right, down below that we come to force questions. Force questions are basically force modifiers. When I order the sandwich, anything that offers anything like your choice of, that is a force question. And so within here, this is where you apply in the choices that you want the customer to make, such as in this particular case, it may be what type of bread. Do you want it on rye or pumpernickel or white or whole wheat or whatever the case? Or do you want crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut butter, or strawberry jam and raspberry jam, something like that. So each one of those force questions you can apply within here. Now a force question is, as I said, like a force modifier, and even though you have 5 of them in here, you're not limited to 5 within your selections, because if I did choose, for example, on the first one it may say, do you want peanut butter or jelly? Then if I chose peanut butter, it would come up with its choice of, do you want smooth or crunchy? Or do you want raspberry or strawberry or grape or whatever it happens to be. And the same with salads as well. Do you want soup or salad? I choose the salad. Then do you want French or Italian or Thousand Island dressing? So you can have questions on questions on questions. So virtually there's no limit to the number of force questions that you can apply to any given item within the system. It's just that you're limited to 5 within any individual item. But if those selections have their own modifiers, they can each have their respective force questions as well. In the case of this, let's say I want to put in pizza toppings, just because I don't have a lot of selections here. So when I order the Scott sandwich, then it will actually ask me, okay, what kind of pizza toppings would you like to have on it? And that will pop up automatically. If I do need to create additional ones, once again, just select on the three-dot box, and then from there I can select on New Item, and it will take me into Force Question Setup. And I can create one on the fly and then apply it right within here. If you are applying multiple force questions to an item, there's a couple of ways you can do it. First of all, just by putting them in here one at a time like this, what will happen is that this is the first question it will ask, and then this is the second question that it will ask, and this is the third question that it will ask, and it will ask in that order. As you answer 1, it'll move on to number 2. As you answer 2, it'll move on to number 3. If I would need to save time a little bit, or maybe just for the sake of user operations to make it a little easier for them, I can also select on this checkbox that says ask questions at once, in which case then rather than present them one at a time, it will present them all up on the screen together. And then from there I can choose on my answers, just pick, and then when I've got the ones that I want, then I just hit on OK, and all of those questions will be answered all at once rather than having to go through the chain of first, second, third, and so on like that. Down here we have course. Now within course, as I mentioned, we got 10 courses that we have available within the system. And if you are going to use anything where course, it's important to break things out by course, then by all means you can use this. So for example, if this is typically a main course item, then I can select on that, and so it'll be flagged as such. And now in doing that, there's all kinds of different things that it can affect in the system as well. First of all, within the front end, you may recall that the tables will allow you to see what the courses are. So for example, if I have this sandwich on my order, then, and this has been sent off, then basically it will show on the front table that I am on the main courses right now. Also, if you're using the delay function I showed you briefly up here as far as the delay print command, one of the things PixelPoint can do is hold and fire. Hold and fire is where basically the server is an experienced server, and they decide when things are going to fire off to the kitchen. And so what you can do is we've actually set up as well that you can do it by course. So this way, if you are setting up and you're ordering by, excuse me, appetizer, main course, dessert, and then what you can do is you can say, all right, I want to fire off the appetizers, and then when I'm ready, I'll fire off the main courses next. And it can handle it that way. The nice thing is that you can also have your order broken down by seating position as well, and still fire things off by course. Just make sure if you are going to do anything with courses, just select the appropriate course for the item there. Coming down below that, we have printing priority. Now, print priority, we've already taken a look at in a couple of areas, and this is where you can apply a printing priority on a per menu item basis. So, for example, I have a chef who is extremely eccentric and very particular in terms of the way he wants things to print out in the kitchen, the order he wants things to print. And so by selecting on printing priority, I can identify if he says, I want the T-bone steak first. If there's a T-bone steak on that order, I want that first. If there is a lasagna on there, that's the second thing, most important thing I want on that list. Okay, the other things, not so important, but those two items, I need them right up there. So what you can do is you can set a printing priority on individual items, and that will then determine as far as where they're going to print in the order of the check. And don't forget, the higher the number, the higher the priority. We also have this little checkbox here that says consolidate on orders as well. Now, printing consolidation goes back to where we were talking about printers, network printers to begin with. And I had mentioned that within a consolidation print, this is where I have this big long order that I've taken for a table of 8, for example. And so I've got all these different items that show up within here. And I print it off into the kitchen, and yes, everything is there, but like it's all over the place. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I need to throw in the grill? Let me go through this. It's going to take me 10 minutes just to figure that out. And they really don't have time for that. So what you can do is you can determine which menu items you want to show up on a consolidated print at the bottom. This consolidation print, basically you get a dotted line print across the bottom, and then in receipt font size printing, you will have things like 2 steak, 3 hamburgers, 1 pizza, or something like that. And so those particular items are the ones you want to identify to be on the consolidation print. You don't really care as far as how many glasses of milk or how many pieces of cake are going to show up in there. That's not critical item stuff. But things such as steaks and chops and maybe pastas or something like that, those are things that they may need to know because there's a little more involved in the prep work for those individual items. And so in here, by checking on that, you identify which ones you want to show up within that consolidation print. Coming down below that, we have option printing. Now, if the menu item is an option, being a modifier, then how do I want it to print? Now, by default, it will be set to normal, which means that a modifier will be slightly indented, maybe in a different color as well, from the master item, and it will follow that item wherever it's going to go. If it is a zero-priced item, it will not show up on the check. So, for example, if I order a cheeseburger with mustard, relish, ketchup, pickle, onion, tomato, and I only charge for the pickle, then the pickle will be the only thing that will show up on the guest check because I've charged for it and I need to account for it. All those other items will not show up on the check because they're zero-price items, they're condiments. Now, if I select on Print Always, that means that regardless of the price, regardless of the situation, I want this modifier to show up on the check. All right, so that will always make sure that shows up on it there. If it is a priced item, the way it shows up, let's talk about that cheeseburger with the pickle. Okay, so I charge $25 or 25 cents for a pickle. So I have my $3 cheeseburger, my 25-cent pickle, so it's going to come to $3.25 total. Now the way it will show up in the check is cheeseburger, $3, pickle, 25 cents. If you select on roll up price, then it will show cheeseburger, $3.25, and then underneath that, pickle, identifying that this is an item that went into that price that they're paying for it. Because if you have multiple modifiers, then they'll all show up within there. If you're paying for it, it will show up on the check. But you can determine by roll-up price whether to have them itemized or rolled up into the master item. All right, the next one over is custom. Now, within custom, I had said within report category that when you assign an item to a report category, it inherits all of the programming that has been done within that respective report category. So coming back to my Scott sandwich, right now it's in grill. So whatever I have programmed in for grill will be inherited to this as well in terms of taxes and where it's printing and the modifiers that are made for it. Let's say, for example, Scott sandwich, though, I want to have a different modifier or a different tax or whatever. Then by selecting on Define Custom, I can now override all of that inherited programming. You'll see within here now I can determine as far as what printer channel I want to use. I can also determine what modifiers I want to use and what tax I want to use. Also within this as well is the scheduler. Remember I showed you the price scheduling as well? And so within this I may have, for example, a special pricing I want to do just for this one item, or maybe make it not present for a lot of the time. So whatever it happens to be, you can program that. All right, so that allows you to override all of that. If you unselect Define Custom, then you're back to the default settings for Use Report Category Settings. Coming over on the right-hand side, Minimum Security. You can apply a security level to the ordering of an individual item. This is really cool for things, for example, for establishments that have expensive bottles of wine. Like they're really famous for their wine cellar, for example. And in this, you can make sure that if I've got a bottle of wine that is over $200 or more, then I'm going to make sure that there's going to be manager authorization required for the ordering of that item. So if I order that, expensive bottle of champagne or the Dom Perignon or whatever it happens to be, then I can put on a security level for ordering that one given item. Underneath that, we have 3 code fields here: accounting code, cost accounting code, and inventory accounting code. Strictly for reporting purposes, you put in your GL account numbers for those. The next tab over is recipe. And so within recipe, this is where I can go about setting up my recipe for this given menu item. And in this, I'm going to select on plus inventory item, and I've got some items that I've programmed in here already. So let's say my Scott sandwich consists of a chicken breast, 1 piece, and an egg, 1 piece, and mayonnaise, 2 ounces. Okay, and so here I've got in here now a basic recipe for Scott's sandwich. And in here, you'll notice that there's no real costing or anything like that. As I get into inventory, I'm going to elaborate on this further, but I'll just kind of give you a little spoiler right now. If you do not wish to put in full-blown inventory on the system, but you want to kind of present it a little bit to the customer so that they can get some kind of benefit out of it without having to invest totally into the work that's required for full-blown inventory. What you can do is, one, when you're programming in the system, just create the stock items, all right, which I'll show you when we do inventory. Two, apply them in here within recipe, within the given menu items. And then three, at the end of the day, set them up within their end-of-day report, add in there the inventory usage report. Okay, so you'll have the end-of-day report, and along with that, the inventory usage report. Now, what will happen is that the system will actually go in and keep track in terms of what was used within those stock items. So, for example, for every Scott's sandwich, if I'm using one chicken breast, if I sell 50 Scott's sandwich at the end of the day, I have used 50 chicken breasts. And this report will reflect that. It won't tell me what my stock levels are. It won't do anything as far as purchase orders or reordering or anything like that. But it will tell me that I have gone through this number of stock items within my inventory. And then I can do whatever I feel that I need to from there. So it's a good way to kind of introduce your customers into inventory without really having to commit heavily into it, because it's a little baffling for most people anyway, and just a lot of work for what they want to get done. And so if they just kind of want to walk into inventory, that's a good way to do it. It's just set up the stock items, apply them to recipes, add in the inventory usage report, boom, you're done. And the nice thing about this is there's no further data entry that's required beyond that. Now with this, we also have some things in here in terms of total recipe cost. Also we have some price selling and suggested selling as well. Now when you are setting up your inventory items, most people have no idea in terms of what their costs are. In terms of, well, how much does it cost me to make this drink? How much does it cost me to make this sandwich? Well, I don't know. Well, they should know, because that's the whole point of being in the restaurant, is to make money. And if you're not charging enough and you don't know what your costs are and you're distributing your inventory poorly, then you're going to lose money. So it's important to come up with this. Now, within item cost here, I will get into later on where we establish, what is our cost for one chicken breast, for example. But in here, the system will actually track that as well, so that you'll know by the end of it, if it's going to be one chicken breast, 1 egg, and 2 ounces of mayonnaise, then maybe the price for me to make a sandwich might be 97 cents. And so down here it will show total recipe cost 97 cents. And I'm charging $3, so everything above and beyond that is profit. Now below that we have suggested selling price. We do this because more often than not, a lot of restaurateurs have no idea in terms of what they should charge. Once again, referring back to cost and profit. So if that is the case, then just to kind of help them out a little bit is we offer this. And if we say, for example, we want the cost of my sandwich to be maybe 50% of what I'm charging. So you can actually bring this up to 50% like this. And what will happen here is the suggested selling price, if you have your costs in here, it will tell you what you should be charging for this if you want to make a 50% profit, and where you can go from there. Its whole intention here is to basically give you an idea of how much money you are making, or what is your markup on this, to make sure that you're making sufficient amount. If I sell a bunch of these sandwiches, this is roughly how much money I'm going to be making within my profits based on that. Also, over on the right-hand side, if you want to be a little more precise rather than use the slide rule, you can actually put in an exact percentage in there, and it will do the same thing as well. All right, now we're over onto the Advanced tab. And in the Advanced tab, we have all kinds of little fields in here. And the first one here says time to serve in minutes. So in here, I can put in, let's say, 5. Okay? Now, if I put in 5 minutes to serve, that means that for me to make Scott's sandwich, it's roughly 5 minutes to make it and serve it from the point of ordering it on the system. Now, this works with the delay print command. All right, coming back to that type of product, which is called delay print. Now, there's several different ways you can do it. The first one here, I'm just going to save on this. Actually, I may even have one in here. Yes, I do. Okay, so here is a delay product that I created right here. And the type of product is delay print command. Coming over to the Advanced tab in here, I can now program this to be, for example, 5 minutes. And so when I order my soup and my salad, and then I select on delay, it will delay 5 minutes, and then my burger and my pizza, and then delay again, it will delay another 5 minutes. Now I can create multiples of these as well. I can have one that's titled delay 5, delay 10, delay 20, and something like that. And so what you can do is just change the number within here on each of those respective items, and then it will delay by those number of minutes on the point of sale system. And so this way I can do soup and salad, delay 5, burger and pizza, delay 15, and then pie and cake. You can do things like that. Now you can also create, I'll just leave that one here. I can also create one on the individual items themselves. Okay, coming back to Scott's sandwich. So in here, I have Scott's sandwich, and in this I put in 5 minutes. So the way you can do it, let's go back to that same order again where I've got the soup and the salad. Soup and the salad, and then I put in delay. Now, the delay that I put in will not have a time in it, okay, as it originally did, as I just showed you a minute ago there. But the soup and the salad would each have a prep time in there. So soup I can do in 2 minutes, salad I can do in 3 minutes. So what you do is you order soup, salad, delay, and then the other stuff. Now what will happen is that the delay command, because there is no time set within there, it will look to the items above that, being the soup and the salad. It will see soup is 2 minutes, salad is 3 minutes, so I'm going to delay 3 minutes. Then you'll move on down to the next print, which is the burger and the pizza. Burger I can do in 10 minutes, the pizza I can do in 12 minutes. And then I've got another delay in there. That delay, the same thing, it will look to those items above it, and it will say, okay, the longest one is the 12-minute pizza, so I will delay 12 minutes. And then after that, the pie and the cake. Okay, so that's how you can, the second way that you can do that. A third way that you can do this as well is also another way that we also hint in to hold and fire as well, is to put no serve time on any of those items, be it the menu items or on the delays themselves. So what happens is you hit soup, salad, delay, and then it will sit there, delay, 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 delay. And it's not until you go in and you void off that delay that it will move on to the burger and the pizza. So that's another way you can do it as well. Many variations to this. This is all explained within the manual. The next thing we have down here is ref code UPC. Okay, now, first of all, UPC is UPC code, Universal Product Code, and that's for barcode reading. So in here, remember the merchandise items, this is where it's going to look within here. So in this, I'll put in whatever my barcode reader, barcode scan would be for that. And so when I scan that item and the barcode matches up with that UPC code there, then it will order the Scott sandwich, for example. Another thing I can do is use it as a reference code as well. Okay, so I've got a number in here like this. So this is used quite commonly actually in older point-of-sale systems, and still used in some cases with very large menus as well. Let's say, for example, coming back to wines, where I've got a very large menu of wines, different bottles of wine. So I'm looking through this big book of all these different wines, and I see, okay, there's number 1, 2, 3, 4. I would like that bottle of wine, please. So rather than have all of the different vintages and so on the system and make it very confusing and so on, what you can do is actually program in a function key, which is a PLU lookup, price lookup. And in there, you select on that button, keypad comes up, you punch in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, it's going to order that given item for you. So you just order it by a number. And so that's what you can use that field for. All right, I got enough time here. I'm going to show you one more here. Number of items remaining on countdown. Now, the countdown, this is for situations primarily for expensive bottles of wine, for example. You can use it for anything you want, but this is a good example of it. I have some form of red wine, very expensive. I got it in from Italy, and I have 3 bottles of it in my stock. And so what I'm going to do here is I program in that bottle of wine, and then in this I put in a 3. Now, on the menu, if you are using it as a button selection, it will actually show a small 3 in the bottom left corner of that button. And you order that item, the 3 will change to a 2. Okay, and this will broadcast across automatically to all the other stations as well. This is why I recommend just use it sparingly. Don't use it on every item because then it'll just pig down your system if everything's updating as far as the current counts in all these different menu items. But in this, it'll go from 3 to 2 to 1. When you order the last one, it'll be automatically flagged as sold out. Okay, and so that's how the countdown works on that. All right, what we're going to do right now is just take a 5-minute break. So it's roughly 2 o'clock my time, so we'll come back at 2:05 and we'll pick up right where we left off. Thanks, folks. Okay, folks, welcome back. And I'll just give everyone a minute to sit down, and we'll get started again. Okay, so continuing on from where we left off, the next thing we have over on the right-hand side is active date range. And so within here, by default, the beginning date range will be the date that you've actually created the item. In here, you can actually set the beginning and end date range for this to be in the future, for example. So this way, I can create menu items and have them available on the system, but they won't kick into effect, let's say, until next month, and it'll only be good for a month or so, and then they'll deactivate on the system. So the active date range allows you to set that so that they're on, and then they're off, and you don't have to wait until the day comes that you want to program them onto the system, or you want to have them applied onto the system. You actually program them in advance and just say when you want them to start. Coming over to the left-hand side, we have manually entered. Now the items within here allow you to override some of the settings on the front end. This is really good for things like open food, open bar items, and so on. First of all, we have price mode. If I select on this, then regardless of what price I've got programmed in on the first tab, being the product setup tab, it will override that and say, it will actually come up with a keypad and say, what price do you want to charge for this? This is really good for things like seafood items, for example, that are priced at market value, for example, things of that nature. Also, we have description as well. So within here, if I have something like open food, then you may need to identify, well, what type of food is it that you're ordering? So if you have this selected, then when you order that particular item, it will then present a keypad up on the screen, and from there you can type in a description of the item being ordered. Coming over to the right of that, we have weighed item on scale. Now, one of the things PixelPoint will do is work with things such as like a salad bar, or even a deli contestant maybe, where you're weighing items and prices based on weight. So within here, let's say a salad bar, for example. I charge $2 per kilogram per gram of salad. And so on here, you have, first of all, the $2 would be the price that is on the product setup, and it would be an ordering product. But you also have weighed item on scale. So you have a weight scale that's tied into your station. And so from here, you take the salad, you place it on that weight scale, and it says, for example, 4.5 grams. And so from there, I may have within this the tare weight. Now, the tare weight is the weight that will be deducted from that. And this tare weight represents the weight of the plate or the container, and that you don't want to pay for. You just want to pay for the contents of it. So if, let's say, a plate is commonly, half a gram, then I can put in 0.5, for example. And so it will deduct that off of the weight that is placed on that scale, and so that then you're just paying for everything above and beyond that. And you also have unit description as well. Is it, well, in here, this is all pulling from my inventory, so I've got, jars and so on like that. But in here, you would put in something such as a gram, or a kilogram, or pound, or something like that. Whatever it happens to be, you can put in the unit of measurement for this. And this will be reflected within the check as well, because it will show, here's the weight in, and it's $2 per gram, for example. And this unit description will be brought across within that line description when it prints out. Do not use this if you're not using an integrated weight scale. If you are using a non-integrated weight scale, then you unselect this, but what you do is you set up your ordering screen so that the quantity that you type in will be the same as what it will be for the unit of measurement. So for example, if it comes out to 2.5 grams, then your quantity, you would select on quantity, you would put in 2.5 as your quantity, and your pricing would be based on per gram basis. And so that's how it works out that way on a non-integrated scale. Coming over to the right-hand side, we have item special, and in here, normal, today's special, and desserts. This all refers back to the billboard function. And within the billboard function, if it's flagged as today's special or desserts, then it will show up within that respective column in there as well. Coming over to the left-hand side, we have feature code. Now, feature code allows you to do weird and wonderful things to menu items beyond what the conventional programming would allow you to do. And in here, we have all kinds of different feature codes. They're all within the manual and all within the help screens as well to identify the different feature codes. Just as a common example here, feature code 1 represents tax-inclusive pricing. All right, we use this for example, bar items. This is very common in North America where the bar menu will be tax inclusive, but the food menu will be price plus tax. So for my bar items, I would actually put feature code 1 in here. And if a beer costs $4, then I can put the price of $4 within the point of sale system, and I apply my taxes as well. And then in here on feature code 1, I have this feature code in there, in which case then it tells the system, take whatever price is in there and back calculate it with the applicable taxes, and that will be the price that you're going to charge, plus the taxes to bring it up to the price that was just entered, being $4. So that's how the system handles things of that nature. If you are going to use tax-inclusive pricing as well, there's also a setting in station setup that must be set up within there as well. Other examples of these as well, for example, 101. Okay, so 100 up to 104 actually, this means auto order item. So if I have Scott Sandwich selected as feature code 101, then that means that when I open a check, it's automatically going to order Scott Sandwich right off the bat. So you can use things like that for auto ordering things, I don't know, such as breath mints and toothpicks, I don't know, whatever it is you may want to have automatically ordered on the system. Oh, table tents, for example, would be a good one as well. Also, feature code 105, that is also auto order item where quantity equals number of seats. This is really good for seating position, for example. If you have the seat button programmed in there and you give it a feature code of 105, then in a table service environment, if I open up table number 14 and it asks how many customers, I say 5, then when you open up the check, you've already got 5 seats ordered on the check. And so you just select on seat 1 title, and from there order the items, seat 2 order the items, and so on like that. There are many other feature codes that do all kinds of different things, so I recommend just taking a look at them. They're all listed within the manual. The next thing down is tax exempt number. This is for reporting purposes. And so within here, if this item is tax exempt for any reason, then you can actually apply the GL tax exemption number within this strictly for reporting purposes. The next thing down is label capacity. You know, one of the things PixelPoint does, it works with label printers. Label printers would be used for something like a catering type establishment. So for example, we have a company called Scott's Box Lunches. And within here, you call up and you place an order, and everybody wants to order, you know, variations of my box lunches. And so Leslie calls up and she says, I would like 5 peanut butter sandwich box lunches and 3 ham sandwich box lunches. And so when I print off all of my labels that will go on the boxes, then it will say on there, for example, the capacity for this. Now I would have, for example, my sandwiches all packed into a larger box because I'm going to deliver this one crate of items. And it's on that box that I would print off this label. And it will say, within this box is 3 peanut butter sandwiches, 2 ham and cheese, or something like that. And the label capacity allows you to break it out in terms of how many items can you print on one label before moving on to another label. So for example, if she put in an order for 5 items and the box has a capacity of 6, then it'll just print off the one label with the 5 items. If she ordered the same thing, but it was for 12 sandwiches and the box has a capacity of 6, then what it will do is print off 2 labels in that case. And so that's what label capacity represents. You can fit up to 6 items on any given label. Prep location. This also works with catering type establishments as well. If I am doing, for example, an order of Scott sandwiches, okay, so I'm a catering establishment and I get an order for 200 Scott's sandwiches, and so I need to know, well, where would this be prepped? So I will have all these different prep tables around, one for soups and one for sandwiches and one for salads and one for cookies and stuff like that. And I would identify within here in terms of which particular table or prep station that this particular item will be referring to. So when I print off all of my various catering reports in terms of this is what you have to prepare for today and this is the orders it's going to, then this will identify that this item, being the Scott sandwich, will be applied to station number 1, which is the sandwich station, for example. Covers. Now within covers, let's say, for example, instead of being Scott's sandwich, this was Scott's salad for 2. Okay, you order this as a great big salad, and it's intended to be shared by 2 people. So when I order this one item, I may want to match up the number of items with the number of people I've got at the thing, just to make sure that everything's, everyone's getting what they should be getting, and my head count is accurate. So that being the case, if it was Scott's salad for 2, I could change that up to 2, which means that will cover for 2 people or 2 guests on the check, strictly for reporting purposes. It will default to 1 normally. Now down below we have a couple of points fields here. The first one is points awarded. Now points awarded pertains to client retention programs. So for every Scott sandwich that you order, you get 20 points. Okay? If you order 10 of these, then you've accumulated 200 points, and you're eligible for the free keychain or the 10% discount, things like that. So this all has to do with member points and point redemption programs. The next one down, employee points, pertains to contests. And so within there, we have a contest going, and for every Scott sandwich, you get 10 points. And the employee who sells the most Scott sandwich at the end of the month gets the afternoon off. So you can do things like that. Coming down below that, we have Make Info. Now, Make Info allows you to put in some descriptions on these things, and this is kind of really nifty stuff here. First of all, if there's an image of this sandwich, I can select on Load Image. I can go into Images, and I'm not going to worry about it right now, but you can go in there, and you can load in a picture of what this particular sandwich should look like. And this is really good, especially when you're using customer displays and you're ordering things. And right, I'll have the Scott sandwich, and they ordered the Scott sandwich. It actually shows up with a picture of it on the screen as well. Along with this, you can also have POS info, which is the how to make information. And in here you can put in any information you want. So it can be number of calories, how it's prepared, the ingredients that go into it, anything of that nature. So this is really helpful information if someone says, well, are there any nuts in it because I'm allergic to nuts and I'd like to have a Scott sandwich. Then you can take a look in here and it says, well, it may contain peanuts, for example, for my peanut butter sandwich. So things like that, you can put in all kinds of useful information. There's a how to make function button you can apply within there, or you can apply the how to make information directly on the order screen or within the customer display screen, for example, things like that. We also have short web description and long web description. I've kind of skipped over Web to Go right now, the web-based ordering system. We'll be coming back to that. But within that, this is where you would put in the description of this item as it would apply to web-based ordering. All right, coming over to the right-hand side, or kind of in the middle, I guess, actually, we have reporting product. So within here, it will default to the reporting product of whatever it happens to be. So you create one called Scott Sandwich. That's what it's going to report as within the system. Now, let's say, for example, I have a restaurant and it sells Coke, Diet Coke, Coke Light, Cherry Coke, Coke Zero, Coke, and all these different flavors of Coke and so on like that. And so I've got maybe 8 or 9 different blends of Coke that I sell as a soda within my establishment. But I don't want to look at all the individual ones, because when my representative from PepsiCo comes in and I want to negotiate a good price with him, I need to really get a decent answer in terms of what I sell for Coke products. So what you can do is you can change this from, let's say, Coke Zero to Coca-Cola. And the same with all the other flavors of Coke as well. And so by doing that, when you generate a report, you will have a summary total under Coca-Cola, which is the culmination of all of the items that you flagged across to that within reporting product. Down below that, we have size up product and size down product. This allows you to link menu items together. So for example, in this, rather than Scott Sandwich, let's say it was a pizza. Okay, actually I do have pizza in here. Let's just take a look at that. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I thought I did, but I don't. All right, well, within here, let's say, for example, I've got, let's say this is a pizza. And in here, I've got a size up and a size down that I can select. And I can select on individual menu items for this. And so it can be any menu items that you choose for this. Okay, but what it will do is allow you to work with a function button that will actually change from this one item to another item. So in this, if it was pizza, for example, I can have this as the medium pizza. And then the size up product would be a large pizza. The size down would be a small pizza. The nice thing about this is that when someone orders, let's say a pizza, for example, and they'll say, I'd like a medium pizza with mushrooms, tomatoes, onions, anchovies, and olives. And then you come up with the price and say, what would it be if I asked for a large? So then what you have to do is you void out all those items, and then you void out the medium pizza, you order the large pizza, and then you got to try and remember all the different toppings that you ordered into that. And it's very time consuming. What you can do is just select on that medium pizza, select on size up, and what it will do is then change it from a medium pizza to a large pizza, because that's what the link is established right here. If I chose size down, if it was on a large pizza, it would default back to the medium pizza, and then if I hit size down again, it would default down to the small pizza, because that's what I would normally link up with in this case. And this is really good for things like beer as well, where you got an 8-ounce, a 12-ounce, 16-ounce pitcher, all this kind of stuff. And you can size up and down within your beer using all these buttons as well. So lots of variations you can use for these things. It allows you to link to larger and smaller items. All right, and then finally we have active surcharge. If I select on active surcharge, this item that I'm programming in is actually some form of charge that I'm going to apply, let's say, for example, a delivery charge. So I program in a menu item called delivery surcharge. And on this, if I'm going to be delivering this item, I'm going to apply the delivery surcharge, and it's going to be based on whatever the amount of the check is that I'm ordering. So on this, actually, we have a description right here. Assign prices A through H as percent. 10 equals 10%. And in here, we've got a minimum charge and a maximum charge. So for example, I do have a surcharge in here. At least I thought I had a surcharge in here. Maybe I don't. One more thing here. Delivery charge. Good. Okay. So here I have a delivery charge. And on this, I programmed in here 10%. I've also got 15% in a price level B and so on. Prices I and J, notice I got 5 and 20. Now, if I come over to my Advanced tab, there's the 5 and there's the 20 being the minimum charge to the maximum charge. So this is going to be, what it's going to do is calculate the delivery charge based on the amount of the check. Now, the amount of the check will be either the total applied to the net total, being no tax, or applied to the final total, being total with tax. And then from there, it will be, in this case, 10% of that. So if the amount of the check, for example, was $100, that would be a $10 surcharge. Now, the $10 is between $5 and $20. If the amount of the check was much smaller than that, let's say it was, for example, a $40 delivery. And so the 10% would calculate on that. 10% of $40 is $4. Now, $4 is less than the minimum charge of $5, so it's going to be at least $5 for a surcharge that I'm going to be applying on that. If the amount of the order was $500, then the surcharge for, or 10% of that, would be $50, but I charge up to a maximum of $20. So that gives you an idea in terms of what this surcharge can actually do if you want to program in an item such as that. All right? And that's the Advanced tab. Now, I've got some other ones that I've created within here as well. Some of these you may need to activate within policies, okay, because by turning the things on in policies, you'll have all these additional tabs that may show up. This one here, for example, is shift products. Now, one of the things you can set up within policies is the allowance for all these different types of shift products that you can program into the system. And they're actually function buttons, or even there's also feature codes as well that allow you to program shifting of items. So you'll see here, for example, I've got 8-ounce glass, 12-ounce glass, and a pitcher. I've also got down here a 6-inch sub and a 12-inch sub. So you can have different items that are applied to shift products. Now, within my ordering screen, I can have, for example, a small, medium, and pitcher buttons for my beverages. And so what will happen is when people order their drinks, it'll be a two-step process. You know, you hit the one button and you hit the other button, but it saves you a lot of real estate in terms of what you program onto the screen. So for example, if I have Corona again, or a Heineken or something like that, and rather than have the 8-ounce Corona, the 12-ounce Corona, and a pitcher of Corona programmed as 3 separate buttons on the system, I can actually have them programmed under one button called Corona. Now I would still need to program the 8 ounce, the 12 ounce, and the pitcher within the system, but I don't have to present them onto the order screen. I just have the one button called Corona. And then I got these function buttons, which are the 8 ounce, 12 ounce, and pitcher buttons. And so if someone orders a pitcher of Corona, I hit pitcher and then that Corona button, and it orders me a pitcher of Corona. If someone said I would like an 8 ounce glass of Corona, then I hit 8 ounce Corona, same button, and it will order an 8 ounce Corona. Okay, and so this way, I mean, on the one hand, well, that seems, there's no real savings of buttons, but there is when you take a look at the fact that you got Corona, you got Heineken, you got Guinness, you got all these other types of beers in there, and rather than have the different sizes and columns of these things where you've got 8 ounce, 12 ounce, and pitcher, you can just replace them with a single button for each one of those brands, and then just use the shift buttons for that. So it's a huge time saver for that. Same with the subs as well. If I was working, let's say in a Subway, for example, or a Mr. Sub, and people are ordering, all these different subs and so on, I just select on what size would you want. I want a 6-inch assorted, 12-inch spicy Italian or something like that. And so just by selecting on the shift button, it will shift internally to these background products here. Okay, so that's what you can do with all of those. The next one over is user definable. You may recall this where I did something like this within, I think it was employee setup. I had a user definable fields in there. I can also do user definable fields for menu items as well, for products. And so in here I've got things like domestic and draft or bottle, and again you can have things that you can choose within here, things like that. And again, it's strictly for reporting purposes. It doesn't show up anywhere within any reports, or it doesn't show up on the front end, doesn't reflect anything in the front end, but you have it available there for your own custom definable fields within the POS. If you're working with kiosks, then you can actually have different things for kiosk applications as well, where on this particular menu item, I may want to have different force questions or different modify screens if it's ordered as a kiosk. Okay, so if that is the case, you can also do this for web-based ordering as well. I haven't activated that one. But for web-based ordering, if I order Scott's sandwich, for example, within the establishment, then I want to use these modifiers and these force questions. If I order Scott's sandwich online, I want a different set of questions or a different set of modifiers. And if I order through a kiosk, I may want something different even then as well. So this allows you to change around what stuff is available based on the form of ordering that's applied to it. Combo items. So when you're programming in combos, the old way that we used to do it, we kind of fudged it through force questions, but we've come up with something a lot more intuitive now where we have combo items tab in here. So if this, rather than a delivery charge, was the burger, actually let's see if I got a burger combo. Maybe not. You know what? I'm sure I got a combo in here somewhere. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. All right, so I have the beef Wellington combo on here, and the beef Wellington combo is a hamburger, fries, and a soft drink. And so what I can do here is I can program in the individual menu item of the combo itself, and I give it whatever price it's going to be. And then within here, I add in the individual items that I want to apply within that combo. And what will happen is that when you order that combo, these itemized items will show up as modifiers underneath it, just to identify to the chef, hey, here's what goes in this combo, this is what I need made for this. Now along with this as well, the price on it will default to 0, okay, but you can actually apply in different prices on these as well. So for example, if I order a hamburger but I want to have a topping of lobster meat on it, I may want to charge extra for that versus what I would for mustard, relish, and ketchup. So you can actually change around the fixed price on that and have that applied to a certain price for that given item if it was something that's really expensive and so on, and when it's used within this combo. We also have required item as well. So on this, you can select on which items are required within this combo. Now what this will do, this works in conjunction with a feature that we offer called Auto Combo Recognition. Within Auto Combo Recognition, if I order this item and this item, the system will say, would you like to upgrade? It'll present this combo as, would you like to upgrade this to a combo for an additional 50 cents or something like that, bringing the a la carte prices of those two items plus whatever it would take to bring it up to the price of the combo. Okay, so you can do things like that as well. And also within here, the suggested description as well. You can have individual descriptions set up for each of these items when they're presented in there as well. So this way, it comes up with the question would be, well, just like I told you, would you like to upgrade? Would you like to upgrade to a combo for whatever it happens to be? You can put that any kind of description within there as well, so that when you're doing suggested selling, then it will present that description up on the screen as well. All right, so that's, in a nutshell, that's pretty well everything under ordering product. Now, there was one level that I kind of bypassed over, okay? I started out at summary group, came down to report category level, came down to product level. Now, there's actually an middle of the road one. And again, you have to go into policies to activate this. It's called configuration setup. And what configuration setup is, it's a configuration category. It's kind of like a sub-report category. So let's say, for example, within my report categories, I got things like, well, I've got right now appetizers, okay? And within appetizers, I may want to have a sub-menu, for example, like baked items as one of my sub-report categories within a report category. So this way, when I'm ordering, I'm generating a report, and I'm taking a look at all of my appetizers within this report category report, I may want to break that down further by configuration category, because my baked items may have a different form of taxation or require a different form of modifiers, for example, or may print in a different location. So this is for situations where you have a report category, but within that report category, rather than go into the individual override the define custom for, let's say, 15 or 20 items, I can actually just create a sub-report category called a configuration category and apply those items to that given category, so they will have that common programming between all of them. And so it's just kind of a middle-of-the-road type thing. All right, now let's take a look at the various other things that are available within here. First of all, we've got order page setup. So within here, this is where you go about programming all the buttons for your order page grid. Okay, and an order page grid is for things like appetizers and grill items and children's menu and the wine menu and so on like that. So here's a list of all the different order pages that are available, let's say, within this one, for example. And this includes not only the conventional ones, like cocktails, for example, but also existing ones that are in there, such as modifier buttons as well. Those modifier page buttons are actually order page buttons as well. It's just one's intended for modifier page grid, the other one's intended for the order page grid. So cocktails would show up on the order page grid, food extras would show up on the modifier page grid. In this, you give it the description, all the button layout, as I've already shown you within product setup. It's the same thing within here. And then down below that, you identify whether this is an order page or a modifier page. And that will reflect in terms of how it looks and performs within menu setup, which we haven't come to yet. All right, the next thing we're going to take a look at is forced questions. Forced questions is basically forced modifiers, as I've touched on earlier in this session. So I'm just going to come down into one here. Oh, banquet burger. Okay, so I got old combo. Okay, what combo? Pizza toppings, web flavors. All right, let's go to pizza toppings. This is a good one. Okay, so here I've got a forced question here. What toppings would you like to select for your pizza? So I create an item called pizza. And in there, I give it a forced question of pizza toppings. And in here, what are the toppings that are going to go on this? So when I order it, then this window will come up, and it's got all these buttons on it. And the buttons will contain things like anchovies, bacons, chicken, green pepper, ham, and so on like that. All of these toppings go on it. Now, within here, I program it to identify how I want this to act on the system. So first of all, I give it a name. All right, pizza toppings, pretty straightforward. Next thing is the question that you want to present to the server. What toppings would you like to select? Now, the next one down here is number of choices the user may select. All right, now this identifies the maximum number of items that you can choose. In this, I've identified 10. So when this list of items is presented on the screen, then I can choose up to 10 of those items. The next thing down is minimum number of answers, and I've set this to 0. I may want a plain pizza. I may not want any toppings. And if that is the case, I got to leave that option open. So when the forced question comes up showing me all these different toppings, I can just hit OK, in which case then it'll just bypass all that, and I've got a plain pizza. If I put a 1 in here, then that means that the system will require that I have at least one item ordered. I have to select at least one of these in order to move on. Okay, so just be aware of that. It's better to have a 0 than a 1 if there's a possibility that they may want whatever it happens to be completely plain. All right, the next thing here is number of mod price choices. And I've got a 3 in here. Now, the modify price, remember when we're taking a look at product setup, we got your 10 price levels and you got the modify price. When an ordering item is used as a modifier, then it takes on that modify price as well. Now in there, for all of these pizza toppings, I charge, let's say, $1 for each of those toppings. The modify price I set to 0. Now in doing that, if I have within this force question, number of mod price choices equals 3, that means that the first 3 answers that I choose within this question will use the modify price, not the regular price. And so if the modify price is set to 0, that means the first 3 toppings are free. Okay? So that's kind of a cool thing that you can do within here as well, is that you can utilize within the question, how many of these do I want to use a modify price before kicking in with the conventional price. Maximum allowable splits, very useful for pizzas. Okay, and anyone who's ever taken the PPCP exam, this is a good thing to kind of keep an eye on as well. Maximum allowable splits, because I do test you on this. Within here, when this question is presented up on the screen, let's say the customer says, well, I'd like half and half, please. I'd like to have half this and half that on my pizza. So what you can do is you can select on maximum allowable splits, and if you have a number in there that is greater than 0, or actually greater than 1, then it will present a button that says split. You can select on that, and you can identify how many ways you want to split this force question. In this case, split the toppings. So if I put a 2 in there, then it will present me, all right, split 1 of 2. What would you like on the first half? I want this, this, this. And then from there you hit on next, and it will say, what would you like on split 2 of 2, being the second half? And you order this, this, this. And so this allows you to split the toppings that way. And when you do things like that, it actually splits the quantity of topping being applied to it. It splits the price of that. It splits the mandatory selection of mod price choices as well. It will split that. And it will also split the inventory depletion as well. So basically, it's a quantity of a 0.5 for when you're doing a half and half. Now in here, I've actually set it to 5, so I can split my pizza 5 ways. And so I can have 5 sections of that pizza, each with different toppings on. If it's a 10-slice pizza and I put a 10 in there, I can have different toppings on every slice. So you could hypothetically do things like that as well. Coming down below that, allow multiple. So I would like a pizza, and on that, give me pepperoni, pepperoni, and put some pepperoni on that. So allow multiple will allow you to select the same item more than once. Use buttons. Now there are several different ways that force questions can be presented on the screen. The basic one is where a window will pop up and you'll have all of these different toppings on there, and you can choose from the different toppings using the buttons. Second way is to uncheck use buttons, in which case then they'll be presented in a list format. Now this is really good for establishments that have a lot of things to choose from. Let's say, for example, instead of the 10 toppings I've got, let's say I had 50 toppings, or I had 50 flavors of ice cream to choose from, or something like that. If you have something that has a lot of selections in it, then you can uncheck that, because you just can't fit all those buttons onto one screen. And you can put it in a list format, in which case then you can go up and down the list, and I'll pick this, 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 and this. So you can do it that way as well. Just bear in mind that if you use the list format, you will not be able to use allow multiple, because basically you're just checking it on and off. Another way you can do it as well, by the way, is just with the kiosk form. You can use the form designer to come up with a nice, pretty screen for it. And also another way to present your force questions is using the Ask It Once as well, in which case then all those buttons are presented, kind of squinched up on the screen, and then from there you can choose multiple things that way. Coming down below that, we have substitute. Within here, you want to allow substitution for the answer of this. So for example, the force question is your choice of fries or onion rings. And so I choose fries, and then I go on. And then the customer says, oh, no, I changed my mind. Can we have onion rings instead? So what you do is you choose on the fries, and you can have a substitute button in there. You select on substitute. It will ask this question again and allow you to put in a different answer. So you can use it for that. Another great use for substitution, especially for salespeople, be aware of this, is for complete meal selling. Okay, so one thing that's getting popular in restaurants now is selling complete meals, where your choice of these appetizers, these entrees, and these desserts for whatever the price happens to be. Now, when it comes to those things, it's very common that, okay, they'll say, all right, I want the salad and I want the salmon for my main course. I don't know what I want for dessert yet, so can I order that later? Yes, you can. What you can do is within your forced question, because you've got a forced question as far as what you're selecting for this complete meal ordering, is that you can have within there the allowance for substitution, and you will have order later, let's say, as one of the answers for dessert. And so you select on that, and then when they say, okay, I'd like to have the chocolate cake for dessert, then you can come back, use the substitute on that item, and then from there, it will flip you over you can flip it over from order later to the chocolate cake. So you can do things like that. The last thing down here is automatic OK. Now, automatic OK will basically save the user a keystroke if they've met the criteria. Now, for example, rather than pizza toppings, let's say this was salad dressings. Now, on a salad, you would only put in one dressing. You wouldn't mix up your dressings. And so if that's the case, I've got what type of salad dressing would you like? French, Italian, Thousand Island. And you allow for one answer. So when you've met that criteria of one answer, let's say French, I choose on the French dressing, then the system will present OK. I can hit OK, I can move on. If you select on automatic OK, then as soon as I hit that French salad dressing, it'll automatically move on from there. Just save the user a keystroke. Over on the left-hand side, I've got a list of all of my different answers that you can choose from. To add in an answer, you select on Add Answer. Boom, you can do that. If it's not in there, you can select on New Item. It'll take you into Product Setup, and you can program in the item on the fly. It'll show up in the list, and then you can hit on OK to apply it within there. Remove Answer. It'll take an answer and remove it from the list. We also have Sort Alphabetically, and we have these arrow buttons. I can actually move items up and down the list manually, or I can just, if I got a great big list of things, just sort alphabetically, hit on that, boom, and they're all sorted alphabetically that way, and they will be presented as such on the screen as well. Now within this, you'll notice I've got a little something here. First of all, it shows as the price mode being modify price, and so it will always take whatever the current price level is, all right, which would be usually price level A. But if there is some use of modify price, it keeps that option open for this one here, number of mod price choices. So even though it shows as modify price in here, don't worry about that. It is actually price mode A. It's just not forcing price mode A, because then that would nullify that capability there. But in this, I put in, for example, fixed price on olives. So let's say, for example, the world market of olives has crashed. And to have olives on your pizza now is like gold. It's really expensive. So if that is the case, by selecting on this field, I can pull in a drop-down menu. I can force any price level. I can put in regular price, being like a scheduled price, for example, if you are working, with a happy hour for pizzas or something of that nature. But also in this, I can select on fixed price. And in this, I'm going to say, regardless of what I got programmed over here, if you're ordering olives, you're going to pay $12 for those olives on your pizza. So you can do things like that as well. If you do have forced questions, let's say, for example, what flavor of ice cream, and then would you like it in chunky or smooth or peanut butter, same thing. You can always have forced questions on forced questions, so there's no limit to how deep down you can dive with these things. Let me see, recorded to 3. I'm going to just skip over menu setup and multi-menu for a moment, and I'm just going to cover refund reasons, and I'll see how we are for time. Now, within refund reasons, anything involving some form of reason selection that you need to choose from, this is where you program it. You'll see within here I've created one called complimentary. Okay, so in this case, if I am providing some form of a coupon or a discount to the system, and I'm giving it a 100% discount, I'm going to apply a manager authorization for that, and in it, I require a reason for this. And so what you can do within here is you can choose, as I can create one called complimentary. And in this, what are we going to do with this as well? Okay, you can also use these for voids as well. So if I order a salad, I send it off, and the customer says, I changed my mind, I don't want the salad, or it didn't taste good. Then if you try to void it off after it's been sent, it will require a refund reason. So that being said, you'll need some certain reasons in here for some of these different things. Now in it, you obviously have the description for it, and we've got a few here, well, whatever it happens to be. Now underneath that, we have these 3 check boxes. The first one says reduce inventory. So I ordered a plate of spaghetti, it tasted awful, I send it back. Okay, so there, when it does go back to the kitchen, you're not going to sell that spaghetti again. Okay, that plate of spaghetti is waste. So that being the case, when you select on this answer of kitchen complaint, for example, reduce the inventory. You're not putting the stuff back in. Now, if it was, for example, a hat or a shirt, and I sold to the guy, and then he looked at, oh, no, it's the wrong size. So then I bring it back, and it says, you know, I need it in a large instead of a medium or something like that. Then this is something that you could actually uncheck on that particular reason, you know, customer return or something like that, or wrong size, in which case then you would unselect reduce inventory because it can go back into inventory again when you refund that item. Print refund on receipt. If you select on this, then if an item was refunded or returned for any reason, then you can include that within the guest check to identify that it was on there. If it's unchecked, then it will be excluded from that. Print refund on printer channels. Okay, so if there was one, the bartender made a bad drink, the cook made a bad meal or something like that, then this will actually generate a printout that will show up on the remote print identifying that a refund has been initiated on something that they made, and just make them aware of it. Minimum security required on here. If you are to select any one of these answers, I can say, for example, my common servers, they can choose kitchen complaint or they can choose bad service, but they can't choose complimentary. Okay, that's reserved to management. So on here you can apply security levels to these different reasons. Multi-menu setup. Now, when you are working with a system that has multiple menus on it, then you program them all within here. And this is where you apply the actual order template to the screen. Okay, so within station setup, you're identifying what menu does this station use. In here, this is where you create the various menus. So on here, I've got a default menu, but on this, I may have like a bar menu. I may, let's think, for example, like in a food court again. Okay, so I've got a KFC menu. I've got a Dairy Queen menu. I've got a Burger King menu. And so each one of those would have, first of all, a different order form template. Okay, so I can create different templates and apply these to the different menus that would show up within there. And then the next thing down is Revenue Center. If you are working with Revenue Centers, this would be a common place to have multiple menus as well, in which case then you can identify which particular Revenue Center this applies to. All right, I think I've got enough time here. We can probably squeeze in menu setup, and then that would pretty well finish off the back end for us. So within here, first of all, I've created multi-menu. All right, so in here, I've got multiple menus that I'm programming into the system. You select on this, you have your choice of these, and depending on which one you choose, that will determine the template that you're going to be working with as well. These screens match up with the template that you assign to that given menu. Listed down the left-hand side, I have 2 tabs, Pages and Products. Pages is modifier pages and order pages. You know, so the modifier pages show up in gold, and the modifier pages, they show up just by themselves as well. Down here, we have the default menu, okay, so that's what I'm working on. This is the order page grid down here. This is the product grid up here. And down within the order page grid, as I select on different order pages, you'll notice that the contents of the product grid change as well. Within the product grid, this contains all the menu items. If I want to assign things in there, I would skip over from pages to products. And in here, I have a list of all of the different products that are available in the system. Now, how do you go about applying these things? All right, so let's come over here for my soups and salads. And in here, I've got some items in this. To create, first of all, a new order page, I just select on it and just drag it down. And there I've got it populated in there. You can also move these buttons around to any location you wish as well. Also, what I can do, here, I'm just going to drag this up to the trash can. It's out of there. All right, I'm still on this gray button here. I want to apply shots. Another way I can do it is I can select on Insert Page. Do that, and I've got that applied in there as well. Another way you can do it is right-click on it, Insert Here. And so there you go. So there's lots of different ways that you can apply an order page to the screen. The same applies to products as well. If I come up to my soups and salads once again, I'm going to go from here over to products. Now within products, you'll notice now it says insert product, and it's the same form of adding things to it. So I've got a 12-ounce Corona. Just do a click and drag across. There's 12-inch Corona. I've also got, come to an empty button, insert product, 12-ounce Corona. Also right-click on it, insert Corona. So you can create them that way as well. Now another thing I can do, I can select on an empty button and take a look at this, create new product. I come down here, select on this, create new page. Now with either of these, if I select on this and then choose that, there is the order page setup right within there. So I don't have to go to order page setup and then go in here. I can actually do it directly from the menu setup screen. Coming back to this, in here, if I select on this, create new product. I select on this, I'm now into product setup. I can program the item on the fly, and then from there, it'll apply it directly within there, and it will add it to the list on the left as well. Pertaining to the list on the left, in here, if I chose, the letter T, it will bring you down to the T's. You can put in a search string for that. The same applies to the order pages as well. Some other things you can do. If you're programming in modifier pages, okay, how do you go about programming in bar modify? Because I don't see bar modify in here. Well, bar modify shows up in the modifier page grid. All you have to do is just choose on bar modify, and then there is the title right there. There's the grid for that. And then from here, I can go over here, and I can say, all right, for bar modifier, I got a tropical storm and a turkey festival for my modifiers. All right, so you take your modifiers that you programmed in here and just bring them in, and boom, there you go. You've got them all programmed in there. And you don't need to actually, drag the bar modify button down here to program it, okay? Because you really don't want it down in the order page grid. That's if at all possible. Oh, there we go. Okay, other things we've got as well. First of all, there's the little lightning bolt. So if I want to take a look at how this order screen is going to look on the front end, you can just choose on that. And from here, you can get a good idea in terms of how things will appear. Take a look at cocktails. You notice that I've got this little symbol showing up within here. And if I select on it, it will then press me down further, more items and so on like that. And here, let me just close that. When I'm programming my cocktails, all you have to do is there's everything I can fit in the grid, and then I just go down further, and I program more, and I go down further, and I program more. And then the front end will handle all of the scrolling of the screen. It will handle all that kind of stuff. All right, other things we've got, special. All right, first of all, we've got sort page alphabetically. All right, let's come back actually to this again. So there's everything starting at after 8 and working its way through. I programmed in all of my different things, but they may be all over the place. If I want to quickly just sort everything within here, select on that, sort page alphabetically, and then from there, it will take everything and just sort it alphabetically. Now, it will not change the button positions. If you've got an empty space right there, it will leave an empty space there, but it will sort everything within the existing button spaces that you used. Show products from all revenue centers. If you are working with multiple revenue centers, you may find that there are some products that aren't showing up within the product grid, and the reason being they're assigned to another report category. Now, if you sell Coca-Cola, for example, in 2 different report categories, or revenue centers, I should say, then what you can do is select on this, and any missing items will show within here. You now have the master list of everything that's programmed into the POS, and then from there, you can choose whatever it is you want. Tag menu. Lots of nifty things you can do with tag menu. This is really a big time saver for a lot of things. Let's say, for example, I'm going to come into soups and salads again. So in here, you'll notice that all my buttons are kind of in the same color, for example, or whatever it's going to be. What you can do, hold down the control key and select on the first, second, third, and fourth items, whatever items you want to choose. And then from there, select on tag menu. Now from here, I can apply a common change to these groups of items. I can change, for example, their prices. I can change their report category. I can change their print location as well, just on those specific items. And this will change as a group. It's kind of like a macro. It'll change the programming of those products all at once within those specific fields. Also, change the tag price. So I can identify specifically price A, B, C, D, and so on like that. Also, the background color of the button, the text of the button, or I can toss them all into the garbage as well. So lots of really nifty little things like that are available within there. All right, so that gives you a good idea of what you can do within this. My recommendation is when it comes to programming in order pages and products and modifiers and so on, you can do that all right through here. You don't have to go into the individual ones and then finally assemble them at the end. You can actually do it right from here on the fly. Okay, so I think that pretty well covers everything we've got as far as the conventional basic programming within the back office. And we managed to squeeze it in within 8 sessions, got front end and general back office. So I think we're pretty good for the end of this session. And from this point on now, we're going to start focusing on very specific topics such as inventory, credit authorization, cash management, things like that, and get in some of the heavier topics as well. So at this point, Leslie, I'm going to open up the lines, and if people want to ask any questions about today's sessions, by all means, go right ahead.
Yes, if anybody has any questions, again, if you could please type them into the question panel, and I'll go ahead and read them off as they come into the queue. I've got one question in. Let's see. Regarding email, in a head office environment, are emails sent to every store in the chain?
Nope. It's strictly store level specific.
Again, if you do have a question, if you could type it into the question panel box. Let's see. Another one regarding product screen. Let's see. Oh, product screen, type of product, and ticket number. Will it auto increment?
No. You manually enter in the number. If you want an auto incrementation of a number for that, what you want to do is actually go into receipt setup. And in here, we have a thing called order number. That's really what you would want to look at there. What order number will do is it will bold and emphasize the last 3 digits of the transaction. And you can use that as that particular ordering number. And so after every 999, it'll end up coming back to 1 again.
I've got one more question in the queue. Can we import products from a spreadsheet?
Can you import products from a spreadsheet? I'm trying to think as far as the various utilities that we've got. First of all, can you do some import? Yes, you can. Can you do products? I'm trying to remember if you can or not. I don't think so. We have an import utility that we primarily use actually for members because quite often when you're flipping from one POS to another, then what they want to do is be able to import an external file for that. As far as products specifically, I'm going to say no. But let me check into that because I don't know where we stand on that particular utility right now. And no, I don't know. I'm gonna say no. Because I'm trying to remember if, see, we have an data import utility, and we use this import utility for members specifically, and actually I think we may have elaborated on that for some areas of inventory, I'm not sure, but I don't know if they've expanded it further pertaining to product, and so if I don't know, I'm going to say no. But actually check on the MyPower website, put in a search for data import and see what you come up with. Okay, sorry, Leslie, go ahead.
I do have a response. One of the partners said that he did look on MyPower under that search, and nothing had come up.
Okay, there is a data import utility, or at least there was. I don't know if maybe they've yanked it off, and not that I'm aware of. But the data import utility does have some restrictions to it. I'm trying to remember as far as products go. So forgive me, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll check around and see what I can come up with, and put a little reminder in the next session, and I'll try to tell you if I came up with an answer on that or not.
And I've got one more question in the queue.
Very good.
Let's see. Product screen and make info button. Is HTML okay in the web description?
Actually, I have seen it with HTML. So I would say yes. I don't recall if there's any, if it will show up weird or not. But I have actually seen it when we were doing that on Web2Go, where we were using web-based ordering, and in those descriptions we used HTML, and it came out really nice looking. So yes, as far as Web2Go is concerned, possibly where just the conventional internal POS is concerned. All right. I can take one more question if we got time. Going, going, gone. Okay. Well, then I guess we're done for questions, Leslie?
I do actually have one that just popped in.
Okay. I got time for one more then.
Let's see. It's not. It might be better actually to take this one separate. The partner is asking about PixelPoint and how it works with a retail operation, with a company that's running a retail operation as well.
Okay. All right, I'll answer that in 25 words or less, and then I won't get too deep into it. It does okay, okay in terms of a retail type application in that you can use barcode scanning, for example, for a lot of items, and you can do a mix between buttons and barcode scanning within that type of environment. In terms of inventory keeping, it is really designed for recipes and things along that line. So if you were to compare PixelPoint to a retail POS system, the two, it's like apples and oranges. The two just don't really match up. However, if you are working with a restaurant establishment that also has a retail outlet or a retail shop or something like that, and you're looking for simplified, basic retail capability, then PixelPoint is quite capable of doing that. All right?
Mm-hmm. We don't have any questions in the queue.
Very good. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention for the last 2 hours. And so this will be session 8. Tomorrow is session 9, and so we're just blasting our way through it. And so within tomorrow, I think what we're going to do is we're going to hit into inventory, and we'll start blasting through some of the more heavier topics like that. All right, so thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.